Members of the Trump administration are calling on Congress to reauthorize a controversial surveillance law, which is set to expire by the end of the year. Artisa Meyer Khan has more details.
Well, the U.S. Justice Department and the intelligence community are seeking a reauthorization of Title VII of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. This is causing a rift between proponents and civil liberties groups. Attorney General Jeff Sessions and National Intelligence Director Daniel Coats are actually urging Congress to allow the federal government to carry out warrantless surveillance of foreign targets. They're seeking a reauthorization to maintain the NSA's sweeping surveillance powers contained in Section 702 of the FISA Act. Now, the laws are aimed at collecting data on foreign spies, but this also allows the National Security Agency to tap the communications of foreigners located abroad for just intelligence purposes. Now, the Trump administration has been pushing for Section 702 to become permanent, as its supporters say it's crucial for preventing terrorist attacks. But its critics have been voicing concerns that the NSA also harvests private communications of Americans, which violates their civil liberties, leaving private information available to other intelligence agencies. This also includes domestic communications without foreign components. The government has also been accused of collecting data on an unknown number of Americans under this law. And so, between sweeping surveillance and civil liberties, it's very difficult to predict which way Congress will go, as there are advocates and critics across both sides of the spectrum.
All right, I want to discuss this issue a little bit further. Let's go live to investigative journalist Russ Baker. Russ, thanks for being with us here on RT International. So, if we get right down to it, if this surveillance law is reauthorized, what does it actually mean for everyday people on the ground?
Well, there are a lot of reasons to be concerned, and I just want to clarify, because I don't know if you have the Chiron, but I'm the editor-in-chief of the news organization whowhatwhy.org, and I'm coming in this context. My concern here regarding FISA is that it was originally established in 1978 as a protection against abuses that were being committed by representatives of the United States government. Over the years, this law has been turned around to itself become the vehicle for abuses, and we've seen tremendous ones. And we also saw, for example, under President George W. Bush, that they violated the provision that they could not go after alleged terrorist organizations without getting a court order. They went right ahead and they did that, and there were really no serious repercussions. They now, as I understand it, what they'd like to do is they'd like to make this law permanent. So we're seeing a constant degrading of the protections of the rights of Americans, whether they're in the United States or they're traveling abroad, because they've created this tremendous net. Since 2001, it's been expanded to include all manner of electronic communications. Ostensibly, this is only supposed to be targeting foreigners. But for example, I'm speaking to you. They could be targeting you. You could be on some kind of list as a foreign organization. And therefore, I'm getting swept up, even though I'm an American citizen.
So FISA courts there's always been this delicate balance, right, between a government's obligation to protect its citizens and the citizens' right to have freedoms. It's the age-old argument. Officials are saying that this act is vital to national security. Why are the critics so worried about it then?
Well, they're worried because you have to have safeguards in place. A lot of these things are based on somebody's judgment, what is considered to be a terrorist, a problem for a country. A lot of these things are very, very subjective because it depends on the values of the administration that is in power. And we also have seen, of course, these abuses. For example, they can go to a telephone company and ask them to turn over all of their records, all of their call records, with the notion that they're sweeping up these foreign communications. So really the potential for abuse is absolutely unlimited. And I want to point out that even the part of FISA that supposedly does control abuses where they require a court order, and that's only in certain cases, the court itself, it's quite staggering to learn that the court itself, they're all appointed by one person, Chief Justice John Roberts. He basically appoints whoever he wants, and there are no no checks or balances. I know that the congressional intelligence committees themselves have expressed real concern about this.
So if we bring the Trump administration into this whole thing, they've had their own issues with FISA courts, which is causing some of their issues right now. But Trump himself is actually pushing to make this law permanent, despite all of the controversy surrounding that. Is this a good idea, and why do you think he's going for that route?
Yeah, you've pointed out a tremendous paradox because he was talking about all the abuses that he faced. But, you know, I mean, one of the problems that they have is when you get into power, you want to be able to use these things yourselves. And they've been abused, you know, even for their own political purposes historically under various administrations. And you have to remember that Trump's base likes this kind of thing. They tend to be in favor of it. And at this point, with his dwindling ratings, I think that's a real factor.
All right, Russ Baker, investigative journalist. Thank you very much for being with us here on RT International. Certainly interesting to hear your thoughts on this.
Thank you.